Well, once again, we're out in the woods of Talbot County, Georgia, and we're not far from the Storey McDaniel family cemetery, which we featured a while back with Joy, where Joy had restored the cemetery and put up a nice big monument to her family. And we're going back a couple of generations before that. These three graves here are the graves of Joy's fourth great-grandparents and one of their unmarried daughters, we believe. But anyway, this is the graves of Jesse and Mary Storey, who were the first settlers here, some of the first settlers in Talbot County, coming here around 1830 or so. Jesse, we believe, died around 1851. His wife, I'm going to let them fill that in just a moment, but basically Jesse died. He owned 202.5 acres here, and this was his farm. His house was across the highway here, and he was buried up here on this hill, and there's no names on the graves, never has been, but it's always been oral tradition that this was the Jesse Storey Cemetery. Well, Jesse is the patriarch of all the Storeys that lived in Harris County, in the Waverly Hall, Shiloh, Oak Mountain area. Those Storeys have a lot of descendants. So if you're related to the Storeys of Waverly Hall, through the, I'd say the McDaniels, the Swints, how many other folks? A lot of people, McCulloughs, any of those,
are everywhere.
Any of those folks. If you came through the bloodline of the Storeys in Waverly Hall, then this is your ancestor here. And we have with us Joy Kersey Fisher, and this is her direct line. And with Joy here is Mr. Bill Storey, who is the Storey family historian, and he's been working on this just about all of his life. So I'm going to turn this over to them.
The Storeys that came in this area when the lands opened up with the land lottery, most of around 1832, the Storeys came from Warren County. This was Jesse Storey. There was also a James Storey, and it had a large plantation over in Harris County. In Marion County, there was a Benjamin A. Storey, and then there was a Solomon Storey that settled in Stewart County. And they all had a lot of male sons, and there's a lot of Storeys, descendants from this. Originally it was all spelled S-T-O-R-Y, but around 1880s, 1900s, a lot of them would add the E to their name. So, one of the I was real fortunate. I was a UPS driver, and so I had a chance to go into all the local surrounding counties and was able to do research for many years while delivering packages. I came on this. Roger Montgomery let me come up here, and he showed us where these graves were. What was interesting and what I think makes this very unique here is that this was walled, or called walling at the time, and you can find in the records where they had paid someone, and maybe you have a chance, but there's been dug out, and actually a nice wall was around here. We do know that there was 3 people buried here. I'll let Joy talk a little bit about that, but this is exciting to have that, and we're hoping that we'll put some marker up here to define who is here. I do want to thank Roger Montgomery for allowing us to come on his property and to come up here. I was here in 1986 when Roger was a younger man, and we cleaned up, and so we're hoping to come back again and do the same.
Yeah, so Dan and Bill and myself share grandparents. Richard Storey was in Warren County, and sometime between 1830 and 1840, his son Jesse ended up here in Talbot, and they had property here And yeah, this is their home place, sort of 202.5 acres and whatnot. So Jesse would be my fourth great grandfather, and then his son William Storey is buried over at our family property, and I've kind of already talked about how it went from there. So some of the neat history, one neat thing I know about Jesse's story is that around 1820, when they were still in Warren County, there's a affidavit, I think, where he talks about his father, some Native Americans had taken horses and two of Jesse's brothers, and I think some traders ended up seeing it happen and convinced the Native Americans to let the two boys go, and so all they lost were some horses. So it was kind of a neat bit of history with Jesse. But yeah, that's sort of where we're at here. There's also a legend about this poor lonely daughter being a witch, and everyone, older folks in the county, all know this story, but whether that's true, I cannot say. So there could be that happening around here. But it's a really pretty spot, high up on the hill, and I guess that was common, and they're buried heads facing west, is that right? So they would rise to the east. So it's kind of a neat pioneer, traditional pioneer grave from early on, 1850s.
And I think we talked about it earlier that we believe that this is probably the grave of Jesse Storey and his wife here. This is one large fieldstone tomb here. What was his wife's name?
Mary.
Mary. So Jesse and Mary Storey probably here. And then this was another daughter of theirs, Jincy Storey.
Gincy. And to add, just real briefly, Joey hit on something about the, it was luckily they put in an Indian claim, and I guess it was Jesse who was actually carried off.
I think it was younger brother.
It was a younger brother.
He was a witness.
But
yeah.
some traders happened to come across the young boys on the Flint River.
Oh.
And they were convinced the Indians to release them, and then they returned. But it was all because of the they were trying to recover a cost of their cattle and all that. It's a great write-up and a nice piece of history, and Jesse, of course, was part of that. But it's been exciting to come up here and find this. Really, these are really were well done. The walling and the stonework is a lot bigger than what you normally find in the graves around here. So briefly, I'd like to say that I happened to call Dan Atkins about 3 days ago, and just happened I wanted to talk about this. He said, oh, well, by the way, we're going to come up here. So I had a chance to meet Joy, and she's in from Seattle, I believe, and she's doing a great job as far as trying to identify and find the McDaniel and Storey graves here. And so our hat's off to you.
Thanks. It's fun. I enjoy history. I think a lot of people do. Everyone enjoys this channel for everything that Dan knows and all the history around here. You can pass by it so easily and not even think about it, and then to start putting some names and dates and what was happening just makes it really special.
Well, we look forward to doing another video here, maybe one day when we have a monument up here, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe we'll get something put up here with their names on it and estimated dates. But we really want to thank Roger for allowing us to come up here. Once again, this is private property. Roger owns this, and we're honored to be able to come up here and visit.
You're welcome. We've owned the property since about 1982. Of course, this is 2023, so we've owned it for 40 years. And me and my wife have owned it, and we have 3 children, a set of twin girls and a son. They're in their 30s. And this site, I found out fairly short after purchasing the site was up here, and I bought it from Tommy Bussey, or Mr. Tom Bussey, who was known. He was our clerk of Superior Court for a number of years in Talbot County, and his son was Tommy. son would have been about the same age, but he's died over the last few years. So this site was here, and I've always known about it. And Bill was a UPS driver that went to my mother's house and would deliver packages. And he mentioned to her one day about the property, and that was in the 80s, right after I bought it. And he called me, and I told him he's certainly welcome to come up here if he's got family up here. And then I had heard the other stories, and I was glad to kind of put it all together, so to speak. And Bill came with his children and cleaned it out. And I would believe up until last week, that's the last time I was up here. Would have been. I haven't been up on this hilltop in probably, I've owned it for 40 years. It's been 25 years since I saw it. You can see the peak of my house from here. So, so I'm glad to do it. I'm glad to help. The family of these folks are always welcome. Anybody's welcome to come to my place, as long as I, you know, just call me and let me know, and I bring anybody up here, because we don't have enough family.
All right, so this is probably the grave of Jency Storey, who died between 1850 and 1860. This grave is off to its side, and this one is probably the most well preserved of the fieldstone box tombs that are here. You can see the skill that it took to stack all of these stones perfectly so long ago. And then this is most likely Jesse Storey and his wife. Again, you can see this corner here, this very sharp corner, and how smooth that is down there with the, again, the skill that it took to use these natural stones and perfectly fit them together to make these box tombs. And this is, I think we said earlier, one big monument here, although the other side is partially collapsed. But if we look, we can kind of follow it around the tree.
I do think they were. What it looks like to me. But I don't think they were hauled in. But
and then again over here, it's fallen in.
But Bill, it was that long when you came out. You asked Mom. I told Mom. I said, "Yeah, tell them to come on up." And you guys came out on the weekend and worked on it.
And it's a beautiful spot for a cemetery.
Yeah, this is the high ground on the property, and that was traditional to put the family graveyards on the high point of the land. I know that at the McDaniel Storey, it's not as high, but it still is the high point. So that's kind of an interesting tradition along with the west to east facing. And then the wall, I don't know if it'll be easy to see that in the video.
Yeah, let's step out.
The raised wall is also a nice feature.
Kind of see the trench.
And this is talked about, like documented that when in the 1850s. So this is, you know, this was created in the 1850s, and you can still see it, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, you can see it very well with y'all standing on it. How it's mounded up there. It is. I have never seen one like that before in this area.
Almost a moat around it.
Yeah, usually it's a fieldstone wall, but never just like, this is just like earthworks. So very cool. And again, it's so unusual. We see many old graves unmarked, or even if we know who it is, out in the woods, but very rarely do we get the opportunity to come out with descendants of those buried here. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed seeing this. Amazing to again be standing here with a descendant. You're the fourth.
He would be
right?
my fourth great grandfather. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And also, as it was mentioned, Joy is planning on, they're doing a combined effort to actually mark these graves, so it'll be known who's here.
Yeah, hope so.
So awesome. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.